All right, we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to start off with some personal news that I want to talk about on this channel, okay? We'll look at some things that have happened in this space since yesterday. We got a lot to discuss today. So if you're new around here, we're going to answer some of your questions from the live chat and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. So we got people in chat here. We got David Stone, technically. I got Vladlin, hope that's that right. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into this. So some personal news. We have questions in the chat. So hope it's good news. Hope you're not leaving us. Well, I do have some bad news. After much thought and consideration, I have decided that I am not going to live stream tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, basically tomorrow through the next several days, I'm going to be taking a break from doing our live streams. I'm going to resume very soon, probably at the beginning of next week. Okay. So today, basically what I want to do is just take some time to make it more of like a members only kind of live stream, focus on you all and your questions, and try to, kind of change things up a little bit. We could do a little bit of an AMA style if you want to, but yeah, I'm taking a short break from live streams, on this channel, but I will be back at the beginning probably of next week. Okay. So let's see if we got any questions down in the chat here. If you got anything that you want to discuss, go ahead and drop them. We'll kind of try to make this a focused members, channel members stream today. Make a video on how to become a blockchain core developer. That's an interesting question. How do I become a blockchain developer with no coding experience? Should I get another job? Description first. No, definitely start with blockchain. Go check that video pinned on my YouTube homepage, how to become a blockchain developer in 2021. That will help you get started for sure. So how are you defining members? Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, for members, channel members, like basically people who are just here right now, people who are part of the community. We'll kind of make this community focused live stream, less exactly about what's going on in the crypto space, but more of a focused Q&A time. So while people are jumping in, go ahead and drop your questions in the live chat there. We can take quick speed run through what's been happening in the space. Yesterday, we did see the Fed meeting. We got the news that we are having a 50 basis point rate hike. That's kind of, I think, what people's expectations were. The crypto markets look like we had a pump that we have completely retraced in a matter of like 18 hours or something like that, right? So you can see basically we kind of got this pump after the announcement, and we've completely retraced it. So we'll see what's going to happen. All right, so we got lots of questions here. What's my background in education? That's a good question. So basically, my background in education has come from the battlefield of helping people learn software engineering and coding, and specifically blockchain from scratch, and break into the industry and change their careers without past experience. In many cases, landing six-figure jobs, either as their first job or pretty soon after they get in and start really ramping things up. That's my background, basically as a experience in the field from day one. A lot of that comes from basically doing things myself, and then helping other people out of that experience, so sort of blazing the trail and pioneering it and learning all the hard parts, and then passing off those learnings to make somebody else's life easier. So let's see here. So yeah, question about that. We can definitely check on a couple more items that have happened in the space. So some people ask about the sort of my background, in teaching. What's my background in education? talking about my background, how I became a programmer in the first place. So basically, I switched gears into, jumping into new industry, teaching myself software engineering from scratch. Okay, I'm a self-taught programmer. I didn't go to school for computer science. I didn't go to a coding boot camp to learn the skills. Basically, I actually applied to a coding boot camp early on when I was kind of getting things together, and I got completely rejected from coding boot camp. I didn't even get in. Okay, so that kind of forced me to teach myself. I really had no other option. Basically, I was transitioning into tech. Basically, I learned to really basic web development skills, just like, how can I make a website without any real sophisticated programming knowledge? How can I just make it work and make it appear on page? And that's even before you had a lot of the point and click, tools that are much better these days. You actually had to get your hands dirty with some code, like if you wanted to set up a WordPress website or something like that, or back in my day, we used like Joomla, stuff like that, and Drupal, all that. So anyways, did that a long time ago, long time ago, just to get my feet wet with it. And then I decided that I wanted to actually accrue, real software engineering skills. That's when I was, trying to break in the industry, applied to a coding boot camp, got rejected. Okay, couldn't even get into the coding boot camp. I think they just didn't like me. I think that's what it was. So, or I just thought I wasn't gonna make it, or it was like a risk. I never asked them why. I was like, okay, whatever. So I decided to teach myself. I basically, just leaned in, and basically I found somebody who was a full-time programmer, was a freelancer. That's what I wanted to do. And I talked to them and was like, hey, how do I do this? And they're like, learn this stuff, use these educational resources, and come back and talk to me in a couple months. And basically that's what I did. And started going, and they were like, yeah, just start going to meetups and try to get your first freelance job. And it was really funny at the beginning of that, there were so many people that were saying hey, you're never going to break into the software industry as a freelancer. You've got to get a job first. There's some people that's hey, you can't teach yourself. There's so many people that said, you can't do it this way. You can't do it that way. You can't do this, can't do that. And they all ended up being wrong. And I didn't have any choice but to just do things sort of my own way. That was just what I had to do. So anyways, I talked to this guy. He was like, yeah, if you want to freelance, just go to meetups, start talking to people who want to have people work underneath them. Because that was the thing. Nobody's going to hire a junior developer as a freelancer. And of course, they were all wrong, because there's lots of freelancers who want to delegate tasks to people who are, good and can help them. And so I went to meetups. I found a freelancer. I just went and was like, hey, I'm brand new. I'm trying to break in the industry. And if you go to meetups, there's a lot of times people are just like, hey, we're hiring. You know what I mean? But I did find somebody who was a freelancer and wanted to do some subcontracting, and was able to basically show them what I was able to do and break in the industry that way. So, I was able to get my first freelancing job that way. And all I really had was a portfolio and a can-do attitude and a willingness to just jump in and do whatever it took. And then I was able to learn on the job. That's one of the great things about programming, is once you just get good enough, you can get paid to learn. And the rest is kind of history from there. I mean, I did freelancing for a really long time. I had a regular developer job, and eventually broke into the blockchain industry. Took all those learnings, did that, and then, continued on into this. And that's what I do now. So, it doesn't just work for me. I've helped lots of other people, pursue a very similar model. Not everybody wants to do the same thing. Not everybody wants to be a freelancer. Not everybody wants to do this, that, right? But a lot of the fundamental principles still work. But the whole idea is how, I got work without any experience. That's kind of like what this person was asking me before. I'm answering kind of two questions in one, what's your education background, and then what's your, how do you become this if you don't have any experience? Basically, I'm trying to answer both those questions at the same time. That's my background. And then, what's my education experience? Well, it's basically taking the exact techniques and helping other people use those same principles to accomplish that purpose of maybe getting their foot in the door somewhere to launch a new career. Because I didn't have that background, and this is how I did it. And it works. I've helped lots of other people do it the same type of way. And it's not just a cut and dry template. You have to use those principles and apply them to your unique situation, because everybody has a different unique situation. For example, some people have to work a job. Some people have already, and they're having to, they can't quit that job until they, get into software or blockchain. Some people don't have a job now and have more time to learn. Some people have families. Some people are single. There's lots of different, life situations that would cause you to pursue a strategy different from somebody else. But there's lots of things you can do to adapt a reasonable game plan and set a reasonable expectation and timeline for getting in and learning those skills and, thriving in the blockchain industry. It's one of the highest paying fields in tech. It's one of the best ways for people to change their careers, latch onto a massive tech trend that's not slowing down anytime soon, where there's a ton of supply, it's a ton of demand, very little supply of people who have the right skills to fulfill those roles. How to get a blockchain internship without any experience? Well, you need to show, it depends on what the internship is, okay? But it's just, let's just call it a job, okay? Let's just say it's a low-paying job with low responsibilities. That's kind of like what an internship is. Some are free, some are paid, but the whole point is it's a low-pressure situation where you don't have like an insane amount of responsibility. So just like anything else, I mean, portfolio is key. Portfolio is what helps you. It shows people that you have the experience and can provide the value. Because at the end of the day, how does anybody pay you for anything? They pay you for a valuable service. They pay you for the value that you provide. And so if a job and work experience is a good example of that value. It's a pretty good indicator as a starting point. But if you don't have that, like, how do you convince that to somebody else? Or how do you convince somebody else of that? Well, it's like, how do you get experience outside the workplace? If you need a job to get experience, well, you get experience outside the workplace by building your own projects for real and then using those for your portfolio, doing this in an unguided way. So I'd say the same thing if you're trying to be an intern, you're trying to get a regular job or a freelancer or whatever, is basically you create that project and then you communicate that you have, create it, put it out there, show, open source the code, make it to where they can use it. And that's going to go a long way. Semesters are pretty much I can go with no experience, study blockchain development, and actually have necessary skills without taking other previous languages. Yes, it is very possible. Now, I want to be very clear on this. This is not just like you're going to do it and then tomorrow you're going to be, a highly valuable blockchain developer. That's not the point. It takes some time and dedication for sure. But honestly, like the bar for getting in, I think is a lot lower than many people think. Like, I think a lot of people think that, you need to be an absolute expert before you can get started. Now, you got to be good enough, right? You got to be good enough. But how do you become good enough is you create that first project, then you let the market decide, okay? Like, once you create that first project and put it out there and got a portfolio, like, that's the time to start applying. Now, a lot of people are going to not accept you. Like, that's just true. Like, a lot of people have to take a chance on you in order to get that first thing if you don't have experience. But how do you increase the likelihood that's going to happen? You apply it as many places as possible. And you keep doing it until something works. And, at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't even worry that much about your compensation on your first blockchain job. Like, especially, it depends on your situation, right? Like, if you're already a programmer and you're transitioning to blockchain, like, you're probably going to be fine. But if you're brand new, like, I wouldn't even worry about it because you could ascend the pay scale a lot faster. The whole point is just getting your foot in the door. How long are we going to dump OMG? As the $1 million question. I have a question on Ledger. Do you think it's worth it to secure a private key? Blockchain security is a tricky thing to navigate. There's always trade-offs with each security scheme. Do I know how to short crypto? I'm not shorting crypto. What would be the difference between junior Solidity developer and senior Solidity developer? That's a good question. So I can talk about some general principles. I mean, it's gonna be a sliding scale of like junior, like mid-level to senior, right? Up to like, senior and beyond, just absolute master. But I would say the general like distinction is gonna be how much, you know, how much guidance do you need whenever you're solving tasks? Or whenever somebody asks you to do something, how much guidance do you need in terms of the actual technical implementation? A senior is going to need significant, like 0 to very little, okay? And I would say also, like, whenever someone comes to you about a thing that you should have a strong expertise in, if, like, the senior is probably not going to draw a blank very often, and the junior probably is going to. Now, that being said, like everybody in software engineering, even blockchain, is on a constant like learning treadmill. So there's always gonna be new stuff you have to learn. But I'm saying there's things that are sort of in the reasonable realm of expectations, and the junior is probably going to be having to ask questions a lot more, and the senior is probably not going to have to ask them that very often. You guys should have advanced, sophisticated understanding of the technologies that you're expected to know, okay, and then probably a lot more extra knowledge around other things that are closely related to your field, okay. And like I said, some seniors can be highly specialized and have like very little knowledge of something else. Like for example, you could be a super valuable Solidity developer and not be very good at JavaScript. Like that is possible. You know what I mean? But that's okay. And I would say, in terms of the value too, like part of it's the value that you provide. So at the end of the day, like becoming a valuable developer is not always about being able to just like type code faster, right? It's about being effective. And so if you can deliver business value in a more effective way in a fraction of the time, sometimes that means don't write lines of code. Sometimes that means doing something else than what somebody asks you to, saying like, hey, that's not going to work, and actually being able to solve problems from a high level. And like here's the thing, is a senior developer theoretically should be able to tell junior developers what to do. Like if somebody says, hey, we need this done, they should be able to just be like, okay, here's all the code that needs to get written. You all just go do it. Right? That's way more of a senior level type role. Now, not all senior developers can be managing other developers. Okay. Some people don't want that role, but that's more on the senior end. If somebody's trying to ask me what's the difference between a senior and a junior. So let's see here. What about ENS domains rally? How it affect blockchain developers? I guess I'm not sure what that question is. Somebody says senior Solidity dev can do absolute magic, knows how to code efficient contracts. Junior dev, someone with less than 3 years experience when needs help completing. Yeah, the other thing is understanding optimized contracts and like better software engineering practices. Best practices are a big part of becoming a senior developer, where it's like you understand how things should work like better, like you can write better code than somebody else. And with Solidity, that's pretty important. You're going to understand things like security risks, certain code over a junior for sure, and what the implications of that are. You're going to understand better just like coding practices, like how to organize your code base, how to refactor code, how to write better tests, how to do all that type of stuff. all that extra knowledge is going to be, more on the senior side of things. How do I feel about staking as a service? Is it safe? Want to stake, but I don't want to buy. Some pools have. So there's always going to be risks with staking as a service. So if somebody else takes your cryptocurrency and then locks it up and then pays you the passive income reward, there's always going to be a risk. Just like the security schemes I was talking about before. Now, that being said, running your own staking rig is going to have a lot of risks too. The question is, who do you trust? Do you trust yourself or do you trust somebody else? Let's see here. But did I see the Pokemon announcement? I don't know what the Pokemon announcement is. What's the Pokemon announcement? So let's check and see what's going back on with the BTC price here. So we have had a pretty sharp dip here. Let's see what happens. Back to 37,400. We could pull up our advanced chart. Let's see. We're now at our, we're at our 30-day low. Let's see. We're still not at our 90-day low. Our 90-day low was back in January, or February, I should say. 35. Yeah, it was back in January. Yeah, about the same, right? So back in January, we were at 35,000. I think we wicked down even below that on certain exchanges. We'll see if we get our capitulation or not. I mean, we're seeing the same story everywhere, right? S&P's down. We're already down 3.5% today. At our Fed meeting yesterday, 50 basis point hike, rally, and then nope. We got it basically right there. Okay, so let's see here. I didn't see anything more about the Pokemon announcement. What's the Pokemon announcement? So, what factors drive the growth of BTC and ETH? Growth makes more sense since Dapp can be built on it. So, Dapp equals more growth. So basically, yeah, it's a good question. So, with ETH for sure, that's one of the reasons that I'm way more heavily weighted ETH and betting on ETH long term is so much you can do with it, right? Like with ETH, you can build decentralized applications in terms of network value itself, right? You can trade NFTs on ETH, you can do DeFi. The NFT use case is something that's definitely big, and we got so many more use cases beyond just speculative trading of digital pictures on the blockchain. We've got so many things you could do with NFTs long term. You could do insurance contracts. You could do anything that's non-fungible. You can model real estate on the blockchain. all this type of stuff that we have barely even scratched the surface with. All right. And Ethereum's a leader in the space in terms of innovation, is a leader in the space in terms of what you can do with blockchain technologies, where a lot of the interesting problems are coming out of and can solve from. Largest developer community, all that type of stuff. Okay, so that's definitely a reason I'm more heavily weighted ETH, because there's so much you can do with it more, and you need the ETH currency to pay gas fees on that network. You need that ETH currency to stake whenever ETH 2.0 staking goes live, probably later this year. Okay. And ETH's long-term scaling plan is to do with layer 2 scaling solutions, and you need to use ETH to pay the gas fees on those as well. So, that's major. That's many reasons why you want to use the Ethereum network in the first place compared to like Bitcoin. That's the original question, is like, hey, what's the value proposition of Bitcoin versus Ethereum? As a lot of people say, it doesn't really have one. I don't think that's totally true. It's just, I think people do have the value proposition of a censorship-resistant store of value currency like Bitcoin. All right, that has it's more of a boring use case. I think digital gold thing's kind of accurate, right? I mean, it's not a perfect analogy, but I mean that makes a lot of sense. Okay, but to me, using a blockchain that can do a lot more in terms of, DeFi, NFTs, all these future use cases, that's also going to be a pretty good store of value as ETH becomes deflationary. That's a lot more reason to hold the crypto itself, which is why I'm, more heavily weighted ETH than I am Bitcoin. Although I do hold both. What I think about Viper, I mean, it's cool, especially if you like the Python programming syntax. But it's, some people ask that question. They're like, should I learn Solidity or should I learn Viper? I would definitely learn Solidity. I mean, it's the vast majority of Ethereum smart contracts and other EVM compatible chains are written in Solidity rather than Viper. Okay, let's see here. See how we're doing on ETH here. See how we're still in the middle of our dump here. I mean, we're seeing the same thing in stocks right now. We're seeing the same thing pretty much everywhere. It's a volatile time. It's not a crypto specific problem. Let's go and see what's trending on chain though. Now the crazy thing is, despite cryptocurrency markets being, what they are, we're still seeing new projects launch on a daily basis, especially with NFTs. We've seen like some stories in that, some of the major news publications be like, the NFTs are dead, all this type of stuff. And it's like, well, if you look at the blockchain, like that's not really what it suggests. For example, like how'd you like to make $8.5 million in the last day? that doesn't seem like that's dead. Okay, so let's take the trends on chain. That's what I'm doing right now. So basically, I'm looking at new projects that have been deployed to the chain and seeing what their recent inflows was. This is what I do my daily routine, the research to look at new projects that are in the chain that you potentially want to speculate on. I've been checking these daily on the live stream, but if you want access to this information like up to date, up to the second, because that's what I check this multiple times per day, check the link down below. So anyways, again, this is not like financial advice. I'm not telling you to get in these projects. I just like look at these on our streams and analyze them and just kind of show you my thought process about what I do. So yeah, we got $8 million in the past day. Let's look at NFT worlds, Genesis avatars. Let's see here. NFT world, citizens of the metaverse. What can we do with the avatars? Let me pull this over. Sorry, you can see it better. So you check the Twitter here. So we got the public mint happening today on May 5th. Let's see what else is trending here. Okay, we got another NFT project. NFT space is still hopping. Also, if you look at like OpenSea trading volume, it's still pretty high. Let's see here. Like if you look at OpenSea's trading volume, basically use the chain, check the kind of have these spikes, these up and downs. But we're still hovering significantly above sort of this mean line, right? This mean. So we took up about the same number of users, okay? But the volume just kind of hits these spikes. Of course, this is probably from the metaverse sale from Yuga Labs, be my guess. But the users are staying about the same. But yeah, you see these spikes with these big kind of things pop off. But that mean line is still pretty. I mean, it's even like we're even sitting higher lows in the NFT volume spikes, and even higher highs too. Like here's a high. We have a little bit of things cool off, and then an even higher high. And this is all this is all since last summer. Okay, so the NFT space is definitely still quite hot. So let's check on the other mint that I was looking at here. Okay, here's our other mint happening today, minting right now. So what is the utility? Socially conscious NFT collection, born on the Ethereum blockchain, led by the established female artist. Featured in Time Young Entrepreneur. All right, let's see here. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Again, I'm going to be taking a little break from the live streaming for the next several days, but I will be back early next week. Just subscribe to notifications. You're going to find out about those whenever we go live. If you were as fast in this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, actually become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You got to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time, thanks.